the most useful DIY security systems you can buy are the Ring and the Arlo systems. And I'm going to walk you through each of these. I bought both of these and have been trying them out, and I'm going to compare them, go through a few points and discuss which one I think you might like, which one I'm going to choose. So stick around. All right, let's start with the keypad because that's an obvious place. It's kind of the face of your system. It's what you're going to use. So you can use an app, obviously, with all of these smart systems and pretty much any system out there today. But you're going to need a keypad unless you live alone and can only use your app. So the keypad's for everybody else who's coming and going and just to make it work. And both of these keypads are pretty similar. In fact, if you replaced one with the other, I might not even notice. So it's pretty much a toss-up in terms of use. Now, the Arlo keypad is a little bit different because it has to be plugged in and is also the hub of the system. Now with Ring, its hub is a separate piece that plugs in a different part of the house. Would you rather have Ring or Arlo? Ring? Okay, all right, move your dog. So you're gonna set both systems up using their native app, and with each of these, the app is pretty functional. You're going to be able to set up different users and even allow people access. You're going to be able to arm and disarm the house. And so I think it's pretty much a toss-up in terms of the app and its function with the things that you have. Now both, if you were to add cameras, indoor or outdoor cameras, those are going to be viewable through the app and they function as they will through it. The cameras do not function in the alarm system. So with both, you cannot trigger the alarm by motion on a camera. So that's just how they're going to work. So if that's your expectation going in, then you need to remember that motion inside the house, opening windows, doors, other things like that will trigger your alarm, but not camera activity. So camera is really just an observational part, a backup, if you will, that helps you know what's going on. With Ring, it runs on a battery, or you can have it plugged in, but when you need to charge it, you're just gonna plug it in and recharge it like that. I don't have mine light up all the time or make chirps, but the battery lasts a long time with the Ring. The Arlo sensor, as I have shown in a different video, actually does 8 things as Arlo claims. It's kind of really 7, but I won't get too much into that. So the 8 things that this does can only be matched by other systems by buying different types of sensors. Now, what does this one do for 8 things? Well, it's a contact sensor for your door. It's a motion sensor. It's a light sensor. It's a heat sensor, a freeze sensor, if you will. It's a water sensor, and it can also be a listening device for your smoke alarm or your CO alarm. Those two count as 2 different ones. So that's where this gets you further than the Ring sensors. But the Ring sensors, to equal that, you're going to be buying different things. You're going to be buying a motion sensor, a water flood freeze sensor, or the contact sensors that you're going to put on your doors and windows. All of these are, they basically do the same things, but with Arlo, you get to decide what your sensor is going to do. Is that an advantage? Well, it's neat. I'm not sure it's a huge advantage because you still have to have your sensor doing something. Now, it's an advantage where with Arlo, if you want to have this as a contact sensor on your door and a motion sensor, and if it's positioned close enough, it can also be your listening device. So all those things can happen at the same time. Then yes, Arlo has an advantage there. I'm actually going to suggest, I think Arlo intends for the user to install these in such a way that you only use a few of these in your house. Whereas with Ring, I install a sensor on everything that moves. No, every door and window, and then I put my flood and freeze sensor, I put other sensors where they go. So the price of this sensor is $30. And for that $30, you get a sensor that will do 8 different things. With Ring, most of their sensors are going to be a little bit cheaper, and you can buy a multi-pack. So you can buy one contact sensor for $20 or 6 for $100 with Ring. And so you get a little bit more there for what you're looking for, but those are only a contact sensor. So it's kind of like comparing apples to oranges there. The systems work differently in terms of in your house and how the sensors interact. Let's talk a little bit about the larger ecosystem. Of course, Ring is probably the best known system of the DIY systems out there, and Arlo is maybe not as well known. And with that, Ring comes with a bigger assortment of additions that you can connect it with. Now, Arlo has a lot of cameras. I think they're really competing well with Ring. Pretty much any Ring camera that you can find an Arlo equivalent out there. And Arlo, a lot of their security packages are about cameras. And so in terms of what you can add to it, the Arlo system can be very functional. But the Ring system comes with the advantage of everything else it can connect. There's Ring lighting, outdoor lighting, and other things that Arlo is not going to as easily work with. You're going to have to decide how big of an ecosystem do I want to be in. And then the advantage with Ring and their connection with Amazon is obvious in terms of being able to access lots of things. In terms of their ecosystem, I've been using a basic camera with each one indoors, and both these are plug-in cameras. The Arlo basic camera comes with a privacy screen. So I know Ring now has a privacy camera. That's not what version I have, but one that closes around it. You can see that here with the Ring camera. But both of those, they come up in the app, and I just like to know. So if my alarm's going off, I want to be able to see what's happening in my living room. So you can get either system for roughly $130 to $150 if you're just buying the basic package on Amazon right now. And so if that's all you're looking for and you're not going to be adding a lot of sensors, then the price is pretty equivalent for buying the base package. Now again, it's comparing apples to oranges, but because they're a little bit different, the sensors you get and how you're going to set it up. But I think you're basically getting the same thing there. Now, I've looked at these systems quite a bit to set them up in a similar way. It's probably going to cost more with the Arlo system. But again, you're using sensors with Arlo that cost more for the basic function. But if you're trying to set them up everywhere to do the same things, then Arlo is going to cost more. But what you're going to need to do with Arlo is probably accept that your sensors serve as motion sensors and do other detection and not expect the same kind of setup as you would. I think that Arlo is going to cost more, but that's really going to be up to the user to figure out what pieces they need to make this work. So, and finally, if you want professional monitoring with your system, it's going to cost you more with Arlo than with Ring. How much more? Well, for a monthly rate, it's $20 for Ring and $25 for Arlo. But Ring also offers a yearly price of $200, whereas Arlo's price is actually based on a yearly. So Arlo is $300 a year, and Ring you could pay $200 a year. So that's a pretty significant difference when you're looking at overall value and the time that you're going to use it. So that's what you're looking at in terms of the two systems. So bottom line is they both function pretty similarly in terms of everyday use, in terms of arming and disarming, coming in, using the app, whatever you need to do like that. You can set up users, you can give people temporary codes. Both systems are going to work that way. Both systems actually feature one of my favorite functions, which is the silent exit, that you can push a button on the sensor and then open the door and leave. The system stays armed and you haven't disturbed, say if everyone else is sleeping and you need to leave and leave the house armed. It's just a nice feature that we find we use almost every day at our house. Both systems are going to function in a very similar way in terms of notifying you about what they find in the house. And then if you hire professional monitoring, those are both going to work pretty much the same too. They're going to contact you if the alarm's going off. If you don't respond very quickly and tell them it's okay, they're going to send the police or the fire or whatever. So that's how the systems work. So while I'd be curious to know how many people that do a DIY system pay monthly for the monitoring, I don't. I would rather just keep it covered myself, and if I need to call the police, I'll call the police. And that's kind of how I function. But with that in mind, I actually noticed what I call a fatal flaw with the Arlo system, especially as is, in that if you open the door and it's going off, you can unplug it. And that's not true of the Ring system. I tested it out and yes, triggered the alarm, came in and unplugged the Ring system, and it didn't stop anything. But with Arlo, as I demonstrate in my other video, it just stops. There's nothing. So that's a DIY, a self-monitored approach, but a bit of a problem for the Arlo system as is in the box. So It maybe if you buy a battery backup and other things, it wouldn't do that, but as is, you unplug it, it's dead. So in comparing these systems, this is a true comparison for me. And if I find that I like the Arlo system better, then I'm going to take it. I'm going to use it only in my house and throw the Ring out to the curb. But I'm going to stick with Ring. I like my Ring system. I like the way it functions. I like its pricing and the things it connects to. I like the Arlo system too. It's going to be expensive for me to set it up as I want it to be. And a couple of things that I don't like about it, and just in terms of it doesn't feel as secure to me, and I do not like the wired keypad, honestly. So those are, it's a big part for me is where this is by the door and being able to use it. And this one is going to be harder to set up that way, especially with the wire going up the top. It's really set up to be on a table or something beside your door. And that doesn't really work for us. Maybe it works for you. If you buy the Arlo system, I think you'll be happy with it. I'm gonna stick with the Ring system. So I don't always tell my choices in these videos, but it's helpful. Again, I don't think you're gonna go wrong with either system, but I'm gonna stick with Ring. Thanks for watching.